and pulling that off against a European champion as struggling as they have been still has to feel good for TSM.
I agree, and of course with Bjergsen winning on Galio, the, what was it, middle finger from Path, maybe? We'll have to talk to him about that.
I didn't hear that. Trevor, you can't say that on air.
You can't say that about a coach.
It's a family show.
Took down G2 here in the first match of the day. Let's send it to Dracos for a word of the AD carry.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am, of course, joined by Doublelift after the first NA victory here at Rift Rivals 2017. So first off, you got to Europe. It's been a crazy schedule. How does it feel to find that first win?
Well, we were a little bit jet lagged when we got here because of the the big time zone shift, but I don't know. I guess we're pretty pumped. Rift Rivals is pretty hype, so we kind of woke up right before the match. We were all sleepy up until like 4:30 p.m. And then as we're doing our makeup and stuff, we just kind of got into game mode, I guess. And I was just really happy they were able to pull that out, the team comp, that is.
Definitely makes sense. Now, you had an interview earlier, Freak. You had 80 carry. Man, my role is so boring right now. Yeah. But you brought up Tristana. Tristana was the one exception. You got to play her here. Is this the change for you as an 80 carry? Are you going to play more of those hype picks as the tournament goes on?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that in this season, which is very notorious for being like very team play centric, as an AD carry, I can play more pop-off champions, which has always been my specialty, like, it's never really been the Ashe, Varus, and Jhin. It's like, I play pop-off champions like Kalista, Triss, and Caitlyn, and Vayne, and Lucian, and those champions just haven't been meta for so long, but I'm glad that, I think right now, bottom lane is super diverse, and you see, like, Sven is pulling out Kog'Maw, but that's a champion that's not played in NA very much, and then in NA, like, we have our own little micro meta. In Korea, they play Xayah, so I feel like bot lane right now is just, it's really exciting to watch, except, well, to be fair, support's super boring. It's just like top catch and Braum. But
don't worry about it. They'll figure it out. They'll find their time. They got Karma for a couple years. Maybe calm down a little bit in the support role. Now, you said you were going to be the best AD carry coming into Rift Rivals. You've taken down Sven already. You got 2 more standing in front of you. Do you think you're going to be able to back that statement up here at Rift Rivals?
Yeah, I think Sven's pretty good, like he's regarded as the best AD carry in Europe, at least. And I know that Reckless challenges that spot right now, but yeah, let's go Reckless. I don't know, I feel pretty good. I think my matchup against all these AD carries is generally like pretty even or favored for me because, I don't know, I just really confident coming in this tournament, and I think that game was pretty easy. We had a losing matchup, we still won it, and I was able to make some pop-off plays.
Definitely were. One last question. Phoenix won, going up against Fnatic in our next matchup. Who's going to take it?
Oh, wow. I want to believe Phoenix won with the Mike Young rookie of the split meme, but I got to say, Fnatic is looking pretty spicy. So I think Fnatic is going to win.
Okay, all right. I was kind of hoping for the
I'm sorry. I love you, America, but it's
all right.
I don't know if it's going to happen.
So a little EU loyalty mixed in with the NA there. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Doublelift. Congrats again on the first win for NA and for TSM. That's going to do it for us. We'll toss it over to Shox and the analyst desk to break that one down further.
Thank you very much, Dracos. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter here with Isaac, Gazelle Cummings, Bentley, and Mysterious Monkeys, Maurice, Amazing, Stuck, and Schneider. And I gotta say, it's really cool to have you guys both on the desk in the revamped set, and a cool game to start off with. Doublelift set, I'm summarizing. It was in the end pretty easy, and I'm glad we won with this comp. And Amazing, you guys were talking about the fact that G2 actually didn't have the biggest window to make something happen in this game.
Yeah, it felt like throughout the game, because how the comp was operating, that TSM always had the upper hand because they could always use their globals. And G2 only had the window of opportunity where they could group up with the Kog'Maw and basically more or less like be in a line shot comp where they hit whatever it's in front of them, and if they can kill it, they win. If they can't kill it anymore, they lose.
Then GG.
And I think the really tough part about it is if the only way you can win the game is by grouping, having those team fights, like they only really had the window before J4 gets stone plate, Galio gets stone plate, and they start picking up their team fight items, because once Tristan has Last Whisper and these guys have stone plate, it's like, I don't even think they're favored in that 5v5, which kind of speaks to some problems with the draft.
That does, and on top of that, even though it was quite even, TSM gets a fantastic team fight very early in the game in the bottom lane, which we're going to take a look at, which just spells bad news all over for G2, and which makes it even worse because it accelerates it negatively for them.
Yeah, definitely. Because of the global advantage that TSM obviously has, Galio was able to rotate way earlier than Suna is, and just like being on a silent for G2 was dangerous all game. They won themselves in the mid lane, they won themselves with vision, and they want to be in control of the game and control of the pace, but they gave up that completely by being on the side lane.
Yeah, and due to this fight and all the other action, G2 was actually down 4K at 15 minutes, which is a bigger deficit of 15 minutes than they've had all year. It's also a bigger deficit than they had.
Because they haven't played the NA teams.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But then the big question for me was, hey, they had a similar deficit versus TSM twice around. So do you see a difference in how TSM approached this game? Because I feel like they could have closed it out a bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely had like one bad team fight around Baron where they kind of did stumble a bit. I think that it's one of those things where they were quite a bit ahead, but they didn't have some of their key team fight items, like the stone plates on J4. And you have to remember, if J4 is diving backline before you actually have that, you are relatively squishy. You don't have any resistances built up. So I think that it wasn't like as clean as it could have possibly been, but they had the late game, so they can afford to play slow.
We're going to take a look at one fight where G2 has a resurgence, which is where everyone maybe from an A-fan started trembling again. Is it happening again around Baron? And, you know, very well pushed off as well. And Sven is just, you gotta kill him, and it's so difficult.
Yeah, basically the Galio ultimate being used so early enabled Sven to kite way longer, because the Javan ult still comes in, like locks him down, but there's no CC to lock him up. So he was able to free it for a long time and give Suna the opportunity to do the same. So having these frontline backline fights, even if you're ahead, is not something that TSM wants. They want to shut down the AD carry because he has no mobility, and just trash him, because that's something you can easily do with J4, Elise, and Galio diving in.
Yeah, we were talking a bit during the game. TSM last year was a team that was snowballing to perfection. Do you feel like they're getting better at that this split around too?
I think that they have been improving. I don't think that they're at that level, and like no one really feels, I think, that they're at their 2016 level yet, but it's something that they're building towards, right? The start of the split was very rough for them. Recently, they were on like a 10-game winning streak, you know, not matches, games. They lost to C9 this week, but in general, they have been on an upward trend, and they are trying to work back to that level.
Yeah, and they won their first game here. I was going to say MSI because I was thinking back to MSI. Because there, G2 also lost the opening game to TSM, or their opening game to TSM, but in the end played the finals. So I'm not too worried. Are you amazing?
I'm not too worried. Like, I think I tweeted out too that I think that like teams like G2, TSM, and C9, they're gonna find their stride later on in the tournament. They kind of have to get used to like the enemy's play side, because that's how they operate usually. So this game was more or less like a toss-up, whoever would win, you know. So I imagine that G2 is gonna come back stronger. And if they don't, then just cut the segment and we're fine.
And I mean, I think G2 is going to come back. They've been playing very well for so long. Plus, I don't think Europe has anything to be worried about when the team most people are afraid of is Fnatic, right? It's despite G2 being the #1 seed from last split, when they qualified, everyone is hyped up on Fnatic. I think they're the scariest team of this tournament, so there's a lot more good news to come, I think, for EU.
Well, and it is coming to us very soon, because Fnatic indeed have dominated in Europe so far this split, and now they hope to show their strength against Phoenix One in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
What's that little table? Oh shit, I thought it was cut. I thought it was cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, 6 teams will do battle on this stage before you to determine which region is truly greater than. Nobody but Sven Skeren is unburrowed. Cocoon lands. First blood is going to be available and picked up by Hornsat inside the Cataclysm as Bjergsen takes him down. That's a double kill for Bjergsen. Cocoon on the back end secures another kill for TSM. Everybody from TSM is low. Wins a war, tagging on Sven, but he's